So, in absorption of water, we have studied the mechanism of water absorption in a last lecture, and the last point is factors affecting rate of water absorption. Now this rate of water absorption is affected by various factors that can be grouped into two categories. One that is external factors or factors of the environment, and second one that is internal factors or factors within the plant body itself. So we have to study the external factors, which are also called as environmental factors. The external or environmental factors are the factors that are present around the plant where it is growing, and these external factors includes different types, such as first one is a available soil water. The amount of water to be absorbed by the plant totally depends upon the amount of available water in the soil. In an introduction of water absorption, we have studied that there are 5 different types of soil water, and only one type of water available for the absorption to the plant is a capillary water. So the roots of the plants has capacity to absorb only the capillary water present in the soil. Other forms of water, even they are present in the soil, are not available for the absorption. So in an increase in the soil water beyond its capacity, or the scarcity of water in the soil usually affects the rate of water absorption. Sometimes due to heavy raining or due to the high holding water capacity, large amount of water is retained in the soil. In such cases, the soil becomes waterlogged, and such waterlogged soils are very poor in a soil air. So soil air is a very important factor that directly get affected due to excess amount of soil water, and this soil air get reduced, that ultimately reduces the process of respiration or respiration process in the root cells, and therefore this waterlogged condition reduces the rate of respiration, and ultimately it also reduces the rate of water absorption. Then if the soil is dry, that means there is a less availability of soil or scarcity of soil water, then in such cases also the absorption of water or rate of absorption of water appears to be less, because very less amount of capillary water is present in soil when it becomes dry. So the capillary water availability in a soil that is available soil water is a very important and that affect the absorption rate very adversely. If beyond capacity the soil water is present there, then it reduces rate of absorption. If very less amount of water is available in soil, it also reduces the rate of water absorption. Then the second external or environmental factor that affects the rate of water absorption is the concentration of soil solution. Concentration of soil solution is another important external factor that affects the rate of water absorption. You know that large number of macro and micronutrients are dissolved in the soil water to form a soil solution. So, due to presence of number of macro and micronutrients in a dissolved form in a soil water, there is a soil solution formation, and concentration of soil solution, if it appears to be very high with a high osmotic pressure which reaches beyond the osmotic pressure of the root, usually reduces the rate of water absorption. So if this soil solution is a highly concentrated, then that of the root cell sap. So under such condition, the inverse concentration gradient is developed. So water not easily get absorbed in the root cells from the soil solution, and therefore the rate of water absorption appears to be very, very less. Now you can observe such conditions in a highly saline soils where large amount of water is present in the soil, but that is a saline water. Near seashore, you can have enormous amount of water which is highly saline, but this water, saline water, cannot be absorbed by the roots of normal plants. So though there is a very large amount of water is present in the soil, but it is not available for the absorption of the roots of the plant, and such a condition is called as physiological dryness. Now, why this physiological dryness is developed? It is simply due to the higher concentration of the soil solution than that of the root cell sap concentration, and therefore such a highly saline water containing soils are commonly said to be physiological dry soils, and condition is called as physiological dryness. And under such conditions, normally plants are not growing, but some plants they are adapted there, which we commonly called as mangroves, and large number of mangroves has capacity to store a large amount of salt in a special structure that is called as salt glands, and even though a large amount of water is available, most of the mangroves shows a xerophytic characters. That means the plants which are growing in a dry conditions or xeric conditions, so morphologically and anatomical features of mangroves are more or less identical with the xerophytic plants. Then next is a soil aeration. Now this soil aeration is a very important factor which we have slightly discussed during available soil water. In a well aerated soil, water gets sufficiently absorbed as compared to the poorly aerated soil, and this is simply due to the soil air is directly proportional to the respiration of root cells. So, if soil air is sufficient, then under such conditions the root cells performs this basic function of respiration under normal rates, and therefore the amount of soil water absorbed appears to be more. If the soil is poorly aerated, so poorly aerated soil is there, that may be due to waterlogged condition or due to certain other condition. In such cases, the plants usually respires, and during the respiration CO2 is released. Now this released CO2 in a process of respiration get stored in the cell, and that increased level of CO2 within the cell usually increases the viscosity of cell cytoplasm or cell protoplast. And if the viscosity of cell cytoplasm or protoplast get increased, ultimately it decreases the membrane permeability, and this membrane permeability decrease ultimately results in a less absorption of water or adversely affect the rate of water absorption. Then the next external factor that directly affects the rate of water absorption is soil temperature. Now this soil temperature is another important factor. Here the maximum absorption of water takes place in the soil temperature range between 20 degrees centigrade to 30 degrees centigrade. So if the soil temperature is within this general range 20 degree to 30 degrees centigrade, the maximum absorption of water by the roots of the plants is observed. The increase in temperature beyond this, if the temperature get increased beyond this 30 degrees centigrade, ultimately it retards the rate of water absorption. Here rate get retard, rate of water absorption get retard or get lower. If the temperature below the 20 degrees centigrade, soil temperature I am talking about, the soil temperature and not atmospheric temperature. If soil temperature get reduced below the 20 degrees centigrade, again you can have a reduced rate of absorption of water. Then the next is a internal factor. So we have studied external factors that affect the water absorption. Then second is a internal factors affecting rate of water absorption. There are different important internal factors. The first important internal factor that affects the rate of water absorption is a transpiration. Here the rate of water absorption rate of water absorption is directly proportional to the rate of transpiration. In a transpiration, we have studied that about 98 to 99% of absorbed water get transpired through the aerial parts of the plant. So, rate of water absorption is directly proportional to the rate of transpiration. If rate of water absorption appears to be less, then rate of transpiration appears to be less, or vice versa. If rate of transpiration is less, rate of water absorption appears to be less. So here the rate of transpiration when get increased, then you can have increased rate of water absorption. Then second internal factor that affect the water absorption or rate of water absorption is a type of root system. Here root system is performing important function of absorption of water, in which the root system is growing in the soil. So the amount of water absorption directly depends, the amount of water absorption directly depends on root system of a plant. Here rate of or amount of water absorption directly depends on the type of root system of plant. Here if the number of root hairs they are more, then rate of absorption appears to be more. If the number of root hairs they are less, the amount of water absorption becomes less. So number of root hairs present in the root of a plant determines the rate of absorption of water. Here in case of moist soil, if the soil is moist, then more number of root hairs develops, and once the more number of root hairs are developing in a moist soil, that means the rate of water absorption get increased. Whereas in some plants other than angiosperms, the root hairs are not there, but instead certain association of the roots of gymnospermic plant with other organisms is observed. For example, in case of pinus, which is a gymnospermic plant, this gymnospermic plant usually lacks root hairs, even though it absorbs required amount of water from the soil in which they are growing or anchored, and this is simply due to the mycorrhizal root. In case of pinus, you can have mycorrhizal roots. That means some roots they are forming the association with the mycorrhizal fungus or certain fungi, which is called as a mycorrhizal roots, and these mycorrhizal roots usually absorbs water in absence of root hairs. Whereas another gymnospermic plant, that is a cycas, where a special type of roots are there, and these roots are called as a corolloid roots, and this corolloid root is a special type of root that is developed in a cycas, which is a gymnospermic plant, and that usually helps for the absorption of water. So type of root system is important, and in a root system the number of root hairs, that is the surface of absorption, because root hairs is the actual part through which the water from the soil is absorbed. If the root hairs are large in number, then amount of water absorbed appears to be more and rate of absorption automatically increases. If the number of root hairs are less, the rate of water absorption get also reduced. Whereas in case of certain gymnospermic plants like pinus and cycas, instead of root hairs you can have a mycorrhizal roots and coralloid roots that helps for the process of water absorption, and due to such a specialized roots, certain required amount of water is absorbed by the plants. Then the third important internal factor is the metabolism in plants. Here in plants, the rate of metabolism and rate of water absorption are closely related. So here rate of metabolism or metabolic activity is directly proportional, or you can say it is closely related to the rate of water absorption. If the plants are healthy with a proper metabolic activity or proper metabolism, then the rate of absorption of water is sufficient. So for maintaining this metabolic activity, sufficiently required amount of water should be absorbed, and therefore the healthy plants with proper metabolic rate absorbs sufficient amount of water. If the plants are unhealthy, and such unhealthy plants shows improper metabolism, the metabolic activities get hampered or get disturbed due to their certain disorders or improper metabolism, and this improper metabolism or improper metabolic rate also reduces rate of water absorption. So these are certain important internal factors that affects the rate of water absorption. So in this lecture we have studied factors affecting water absorption, that includes external or environmental factors, and secondly the internal factors, that is the factors within the plant body which absorbs water from the soil in which it is growing. So this is about these factors affecting rate of absorption.